Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is breaking below an important line of support after seeing a perfect rejection from this exact line of resistance. And later in this video, I will be revealing this important Bitcoin chart that tells us what is about to happen to Bitcoin in 2022. So definitely stick around all the way to the end of this video so that you're not missing out on any of that important information. And just before we jump into it, you might as well leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. But with all of that out of the way, let's get straight to what this video is about. It's right here on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the 6-hour time frame. And as I mentioned in the intro of this video, Bitcoin just over the past one day saw a perfect rejection from this exact level of resistance, which was coming in at just underneath 52,000 in this Wyckoff accumulation. And paired with the fact that we also saw a small bearish divergence here on the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin, this sent the Bitcoin price just below this importance level, coming in at around 49.7k approximately. That level just there was basically the first automatic reaction that we saw in phase A of this Wyckoff accumulation. And by the way, for any of the new viewers on the channel, this is the Wyckoff accumulation schematic number 1 that we are looking at. Basically, it is a 5-stage bullish pattern. And if you want me to go further into detail about Wyckoff accumulation, I did exactly that in not yesterday's Bitcoin update video, but the day before that. So feel free to check that video out on the channel if you want a further explanation on Wyckoff accumulation. But anyway, getting back to the Bitcoin chart, before the recent pullback, you can see that the Bitcoin price was clearly in phase D according to this Wyckoff accumulation. But normally when we're in phase D, we need to be playing out higher lows. But with the recent pullback, technically Bitcoin has put in a lower low when you're comparing it to this low just here. So does that mean the Wyckoff accumulation has now failed? Well, not necessarily, because if Bitcoin can quickly reclaim that level at around 49,500 give or take, then we could potentially still play out this Wyckoff accumulation. But if Bitcoin puts in a lower high on this 6-hour chart, so basically if the next high is below this point just here, coming in at around 52,000, then at that stage already having these lower lows but then forming a lower high on the chart would technically mean that Bitcoin is entering a short-term downtrend. But once again, right now that's not necessarily the case. We have gotten our first sign of weakness, but we haven't necessarily confirmed another short-term downtrend similar to this price action over here. And something else that could further invalidate this Wyckoff accumulation is if the Bitcoin price breaks below this low just here, coming in at approximately 48,000. So right now, while Bitcoin is still above 48,000, technically we could still play out this Wyckoff accumulation if we can reclaim that level that I just talked about earlier. But then once again, if Bitcoin breaks well below 48,000, then at that stage, it's pretty fair to say that this Wyckoff accumulation schematic has failed. And so when you're talking about the immediate short term over the next couple of days, if we break below 48,000, it could be likely that Bitcoin would continue pulling back a little bit further towards around 46 to 47,000. But once again, that is only if Bitcoin breaks below 48,000. But with that being said, even though a break below 48,000 would technically be bearish in the shorter term, that could also open up Bitcoin in forming a much larger Wyckoff accumulation. For example, in a scenario like that, we could see this entire section as phase A, this entire section as phase B, and then the spring phase might happen later on, which would require Bitcoin breaking slightly below these lows, coming in at around 45 to 46,000. So definitely keep that in mind as well. Now zooming out to the daily time frame for Bitcoin, and this is obviously that bump and run reversal pattern that I have been talking about for around 2 weeks now. And around 4 to 5 days ago, we saw a breakout to the upside above this point of resistance. And since then, Bitcoin has basically been consolidating above this point of resistance. And right now, with the recent pullback, this is basically a retest of this previous resistance to potentially flip it into new support if we are to confirm this breakout to the upside. This level that Bitcoin needs to hold above is coming in at around 48,000 US dollars. So as I also mentioned with the Wyckoff accumulation, the 48k level is a very important level to hold above because of this bump and run reversal pattern as well. And if Bitcoin can hold above that level, if we can see a nice bounce here, then that would further confirm this breakout to the upside. And by the way, the technical price target for this bump and run reversal pattern is the beginning of the lead-in phase, which in this case is coming in at the all-time high for Bitcoin at approximately 69,000 US dollars. And staying on the daily time frame for Bitcoin and looking at this bullish divergence that I covered yesterday on the channel, and I mentioned that yes, this is a bullish pattern when you're talking about the price action potentially over the next few weeks and months. But if you watched yesterday's Bitcoin update video, as I mentioned in that video, it is still not impossible for us to experience some short-term bearish price action that is completely normal. And in fact, that's exactly what happened back during June and July, which by the way, looking at that time period just there, that was the only other bullish divergence on the daily time frame for Bitcoin that we have seen this year, apart from the current bullish divergence. But what you have to remember is that still turned out to be an amazing buying opportunity, even though we experienced a little bit more bearish price action in the shorter term. whether you bought Bitcoin in June or whether you bought Bitcoin in July, either way, if you're holding for the next couple months, as I have been saying and as I was saying back then on the channel, that was an incredible buying opportunity. And right now, you'll still be in profits if you bought at those points. In fact, if you go back on the channel and look at some of my videos that I was posting back then, in the comment section, there was a lot of people telling me that I was going to be completely wrong and that we're about to experience another massive crash down towards the lower $20,000 prices. But really, all of those bearish predictions at that stage were only based on emotion and not based on any logic or facts. Because once again, if you're simply looking at the charts and using logic, you would have determined that that was an amazing buying opportunity. And right now, Bitcoin is simply seeing the same sort of signals that we saw back during the middle of this year. Now, it's important to mention that that is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy or sell Bitcoin. I'm simply just sharing what is on the charts. And then if you would like to, you can use this public information to help formulate your own decisions. Now, taking a look at this important Bitcoin chart, this is still on the daily time frame, but zoomed all the way out. And what we have here is, first of all, the Bitcoin price action in the candlesticks, and then this yellow line right here is the S&P 500 index on the same time frame. And by having the S&P 500 overlaid on top of the Bitcoin chart, you can clearly see that more often than not, the S&P 500 and the Bitcoin price are pretty correlated with each other. Now, obviously, it's not a perfect correlation, but if you're looking at major market tops and major market bottoms, usually they come into play in the Bitcoin price at the same sort of times that we see the major market tops and major market bottoms in the stock markets. Sometimes they can have a little bit of a delay, but really the important thing to know here is that Bitcoin is most bearish while the stock market is bearish, and Bitcoin is most bullish when the stock market is bullish. This isn't just my opinion or just my prediction. This is actually what is on the charts. And the simple fact is that the S&P 500 is breaking into brand new all-time highs, which is obviously a bullish sign for the stock market, showing us that we are still clearly in a bullish trend because once again, we are breaking into new all-time highs. And as we just determined, that is bullish for the Bitcoin price in the longer term heading into 2022. But that does not mean that Bitcoin is only going to experience bullish price action. Of course, short-term pullbacks along the way are perfectly normal. I feel like I have to make that extra clear every single video because in the current state of the Bitcoin market, if the Bitcoin price drops by about 5%, I get a lot of comments on my videos telling me that Bitcoin is crashing and that we are heading into a bear market after just a 5% pullback. But for anyone that's been here for just a couple years, you'll know that that's not the case. So anytime you find yourself panicking after a 5% pullback, as the saying goes, when in doubt, zoom out, and you'll see that the longer term trend is clearly bullish. For example, on the daily chart, both in the stock market and in the Bitcoin price, we are forming higher highs on the daily chart and higher lows. Now, if we see inflation cool off a little bit in 2022, we could see the stock market cool off a little bit. So we'll just have to wait and see how the end of the Fed's taper will affect inflation in 2022 and more importantly, the rise of interest rates. And if you want to be among the first to get pieces of information like this and regular updates on the crypto markets throughout the day, make sure you follow me over on my Twitter, and the link to my Twitter is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. If you got value out of this video, please make sure to leave a like down below, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on so that you do not miss out on any of these important update videos in the future. And before you click off, you might as well check out one of these uploads if you haven't already. I've got a video showing you how I place trades over on Bybit, and I've got a video revealing how I earn passive income every day on my crypto holdings. But anyway, that is it for this update. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.